Have you ever wondered how to start talking about the news in English without sounding too complicated or boring?
Or maybe you get stuck using the same old phrases and want to speak more naturally when discussing current events.
Exactly. Many learners try to talk about news in English, but often struggle with getting the right words or expressions.
Today, we're going to clear up that confusion and make it easy for you to talk about news stories with confidence and style.
By the end of this episode, you'll have simple, natural phrases and conversation tips that will totally transform your ability to chat about the news, whether with friends, classmates, or even at work. Welcome back to my channel, Mr. English Studio.
Hi everyone, I'm excited about this topic because news is everywhere, but sometimes it feels hard to join the conversation in English.
True. So, Emily, how do you usually start when you want to talk about something you saw on the news?
I usually say, did you hear about or have you seen the news about? These are simple and natural ways to get someone's attention.
That's perfect. So for beginners, starting with "did you hear about" is an easy way to introduce a news topic.
Right, and it's in the past tense because the news event already happened. Like, did you hear about the big storm yesterday?
Let's try that with our listeners now. Repeat after me. Did you hear about the new movie coming out next month?
Good. Also, you can use have you heard about, which is present perfect. It connects the past event with now. For example, have you heard about the city's new park?
Okay, so slightly different, but both work well. Did you hear about sounds more like asking about a recent event, while have you heard about is more about whether they know some news.
Exactly. Now, after starting with those phrases, what do you say next?
I think this is where a lot of learners get stuck. They want to explain the news, but worry about using too many difficult words.
That's why it's better to keep it simple and focus on the main idea. For example, say there was a big storm in our city yesterday, or the government announced new rules for schools.
And if you want to summarize, you can say, in short, it means, or basically, they want to improve safety.
Great tips. Also, when mentioning the news source, you can say, I read on the news that, or I saw on TV that.
So it helps to mention where you heard it to make your story feel more real and trustworthy.
Yes. Now let's talk about some common tricky words when talking about news. Words like breaking news, headline, and report.
Oh, yes. Breaking news is the most exciting, newest information about something important happening now or very recently.
For example, breaking news, there's a big fire downtown, means it just happened or still happening.
And headline means the main title or phrase that summarizes a news story. Like reading newspaper headlines gives you a quick idea of what's important.
When you say report, it means a news story or a detailed explanation someone has shared.
So to ask if someone saw a recent news, you could say, did you see the report about the election?
Right. And if you want to practice, try this sentence. I read a report about climate change that surprised me.
Now, I want to ask you, Emily, do you know how to say in English when you want someone to give their opinion about the news they heard?
Yes, you can say, what do you think about that? Or how do you feel about the news?
Perfect. These phrases invite conversation and show that you want to hear their thoughts.
Let's get the listeners practicing now. Repeat this question. What do you think about the new law?
That's great. And here's a bonus tip. If you want to sound very natural, you can soften your question with, just curious, what do you think about?
It sounds friendly and less direct, which is great when chatting casually.
Now, before we move on, here's an important note. Which of these phrases do you use in your daily life when talking about news? Drop a comment or say it out loud.
And keep listening because we'll cover the most useful and tricky part of talking about news later in the episode.
So to finish our chapter 1, let's recap what we've learned so far.
First, start with simple questions like, did you hear about or have you heard about?
Then keep your explanation short and clear. Use phrases like there was or the news said.
And don't forget to ask for opinions using what do you think about that?
If you practice these today, your news conversations will feel much easier and more natural.
Thanks for joining us for this start. Can't wait to share more tips in the next chapter.
If you enjoyed this and learned something new, don't forget to like and subscribe.
See you soon. Keep practicing and stay curious about the news around you.
See you in the next chapter.
Welcome back. Now that we've learned how to start conversations about the news, let's talk about how to describe news stories clearly and naturally.
Yes, many learners get nervous because they think they need to use big or complicated words to explain news.
But the truth is, you can use simple English and still sound very confident.
Exactly. So when you describe a news story, think about answering 3 simple questions. What happened? When did it happen? And why is it important?
For example, if you want to talk about a sports game, you can say, the football team won the match yesterday. It was exciting because it was a big competition.
See how simple that is? You give the main facts clearly without extra complicated words.
Emily, what if the news is about something negative, like an accident or a problem? Should people use special phrases?
Great question. Yes, depending on the situation, you can use softer or more neutral expressions so you sound polite and careful.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Instead of saying a terrible accident happened, you can say there was an unfortunate accident. It's a bit softer and more natural in conversations.
That's good to know, because sometimes learners are too direct and it can sound harsh or awkward.
Right. And when talking about difficult news, showing empathy is important. You could say, I hope everyone is okay, or it's sad to hear about this.
That helps keep your conversation warm and kind.
Now, James, let's practice some news vocabulary that's useful for these situations.
Great. What words should we start with?
Let's start with update, announce, and report. These are common verbs in news conversations.
Okay. Could you explain each one simply?
Sure. Update means giving new information about something that is already happening. For example, the weather forecast was updated this morning.
So if you follow the news during the day, you hear updates, right?
Exactly. Then announce means officially saying something important, like the mayor announced a new plan for the city.
And report?
Report means to tell or share news about something. For example, they reported heavy rain in the northern region.
Those words are very practical. Let's get the listeners repeating these practice sentences.
Repeat after me. They announced the new festival yesterday.
Now you. The reporter updated us about the situation.
And last one, I read a report about the health program.
Fantastic. Now, besides the vocabulary, what's a good tip to keep your news conversations interesting?
Use linking words to connect ideas smoothly, like because, so, and but.
Can you give an example of a smooth sentence with those words?
Sure. The concert was canceled because of the bad weather. Or she wanted to go, but she was sick.
That makes your story easier to follow and more natural.
Let me ask you something, listeners. What linking words do you use when telling news stories? Are they because, so, or but?
Keep that in mind because we'll use more of these little words to sound fluent.
And also, don't worry if you make small mistakes. The important part is to keep practicing and speaking.
Now, here's a fun question. Have you ever caught some surprising news that made you say out loud, wow, I can't believe that?
That's a great expression. You can use it to show surprise or shock, like, wow, I can't believe the singer is retiring.
And that helps make your conversation more emotional and interesting.
To practice, say this together. Wow, I can't believe it.
Excellent. Now, before moving on, remember, the most important and sometimes tricky part of talking about news will be at the end of this episode, so stay with us.
Can't wait to share it with you all. Meanwhile, keep practicing the phrases and words we've covered so far.
Ready to take your news English a bit further? Let's continue to the next chapter soon.
Thanks for being with us. Keep learning and have fun talking about the news.
Don't forget, if you found this helpful, press like and subscribe.
See you next time!
Welcome back, everyone. So far, we've learned how to start talking about the news and how to describe stories naturally with simple words. Now let's focus on how to express your opinions and feelings about the news in English.
Yes, sharing your thoughts is an important part of any conversation, especially about news. It makes your speech more personal and interesting. Many learners find it difficult to give opinions because they're not sure which phrases to use. Emily, can you share some easy and natural ways to say your opinion?
Of course, a very useful phrase is I think. For example, I think this new law is a good idea.
That's a classic and simple way. What about when you're not 100% sure? Sometimes people want to be polite or soft, right?
Exactly. In those cases, you can say, I feel like, or it seems to me that. For example, I feel like the news was a bit exaggerated, or it seems to me that they need more time to decide.
Those are fantastic options because they make your opinion sound thoughtful and polite.
Also, when you want to agree with someone, you can say, I agree, or that's true. And if you disagree, try softer phrases like, I'm not sure about that, or I see your point, but...
Perfect. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I think the new movie looks interesting.
Your turn. I feel like this news is important for everyone.
And one more. I'm not sure about the plan, but I hope it works.
Great. Now, talking about feelings is another way to connect with people when discussing news.
Can you give some examples, Emily?
Sure. You can say, I'm worried about the pollution problem, or I'm happy they are improving the park.
And if the news is sad or serious?
Then say, I'm sorry to hear that, or it's really sad.
Simple, but very natural. These phrases make conversations warmer.
Speaking of feelings, did you know English speakers often use short emotional responses when hearing surprising news?
Like, really? Wow. Or, oh no.
Exactly. Those little words show you are listening and care about the story.
Let's try a small conversation.
Did you hear about the big storm?
Wow, that sounds scary.
Yes, I'm worried about the people affected.
Me too.
That kind of natural, emotional talk makes your English sound fluent.
Now, I want to ask our listeners, which emotions do you find easiest to express in English? Are you comfortable saying, I'm happy, I'm worried, or something else?
Practicing feelings is just as important as practicing facts.
One more tip. When telling news, don't forget to use polite question phrases like, do you think this law will help? Or, how do you feel about the new school rules?
For example, do you think this law will help? Or how do you feel about the new school rules?
Absolutely. So let's practice asking and answering with our listeners.
Repeat the question. How do you feel about the new changes?
And now your answer. I think the changes are positive. Or, I'm worried about how it will affect us.
You're doing great. Remember, expressing opinions and feelings will make your news conversations more real and interesting.
Before we finish today's chapter, keep practicing these phrases and try using them when you watch or read the news.
And don't forget, the most tricky part of today's discussion is still coming up at the end of this episode, so stay tuned.
Thanks for listening. See you in the next chapter.
And if you're enjoying this, please hit like and subscribe. See you soon. Keep practicing and keep learning.
Welcome back. We've talked about starting news conversations, describing stories clearly, and sharing opinions and feelings. Now it's time to learn how to ask and answer some common questions about news to keep the conversation flowing.
Yes, this is where many learners feel stuck. You might hear a lot of questions in English news discussions and wonder how to respond naturally.
Exactly. So let's start with a basic but very useful question. What's going on, or what happened?
These questions ask for a simple news update. For example, if someone says, "What's going on?" you can reply, "There was a big storm last night," or "The government announced new rules."
Great. Another popular question is, did you hear about, which we talked about before, but now let's explore how to answer it fully.
Yes, if someone asks, "Did you hear about the new park?" you can say, "Yes, I did. It's supposed to open next month and people are excited."
You're adding extra information, which makes the conversation richer and more interesting.
Another useful question is, what do you think about? This one invites an opinion.
Right, and we practiced some answers earlier, but here's a quick example. I think it's a great idea because it will help the community.
Now, sometimes people ask, have you seen the news? This is a simple way to check if you know what's happening.
And you can answer with, yes, I saw the report about it, or no, I haven't seen it yet.
A good tip is to use short answers first and then add more details to keep the talk natural.
Exactly. For example, listener, have you seen the news about the festival? You, yes, it's going to be amazing. There will be music, food stalls, and lots of fun activities.
Let's practice this. Repeat after me. Have you seen the news about the election?
Your answer, yes, I have. It looks like there will be some big changes.
Or if you want to say no, no, I haven't. What happened?
Perfect. Now, let's talk about how to politely ask for more information when you don't understand everything in the news.
Good point. You can say, can you explain that? Or what do you mean by that?
Or simply, I'm not sure I understand. Could you please tell me more?
These polite questions help you learn while keeping the conversation friendly.
And if you want to show interest, you can say, that sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Now, here's a quick interactive question for our listeners. What question do you find easiest to ask when you talk about the news? Is it what happened? Or did you hear about?
Good question. Also, don't forget to listen carefully and respond naturally to keep the conversation flowing.
And lastly, when you finish talking about news, you can use phrases like, that's all I know for now, or I'll keep you updated.
These phrases help wrap up the talk smoothly.
To finish this chapter, let's practice a short conversation together.
Did you hear about the new movie theater?
Yes, it's opening next week, and I'm excited to watch the new films.
Me too. I hope it will be a great place for our community.
See how easy and natural that was?
Keep practicing questions and answers like these, and your English news conversations will improve fast.
And remember, the most difficult but powerful part of today's discussion is coming next. So keep listening.
If you like what you're learning, make sure to like and subscribe.
Thanks for joining us. See you soon. Keep practicing and stay curious.
Welcome to the final chapter. So far, we've covered how to start news conversations, describe stories clearly, share opinions and feelings, and ask and answer common questions. Now it's time for the most important and sometimes tricky part, how to respond naturally to different types of news, whether good, bad, or surprising.
Yes, responding correctly is key to keeping the conversation alive and making it feel real and engaging.
Let's start with good news. When someone shares something positive, what are some natural ways to respond, Emily?
You can say things like, "That's great, awesome," or "I'm happy to hear that." For example, if someone says, "The new park opened today," you could respond, "That's awesome, I can't wait to visit."
Short and friendly responses like these show you share their happiness.
Exactly. And if you want to add your own excitement, say, "That's fantastic news," or "I'm so glad to hear that."
Now, what about bad or sad news? How should we respond?
It's important to be empathetic. You can say, "I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds tough," or "I hope things get better soon."
This shows you care and understand the other person's feelings.
Right. For example, if someone says, "There was a flood in the city," you can respond, "I'm sorry to hear that. I hope everyone is safe."
Great. Now, what if the news is surprising or shocking?
Then you can say, "Wow, I can't believe it," or "That's unbelievable." These expressions show surprise and interest.
For example, if someone says, the actor decided to retire suddenly, an appropriate response is, wow, I didn't expect that.
Another useful phrase is, really? Tell me more, when you want to hear additional details.
And don't forget simple, short answers like, oh no, or really, to encourage more talking.
These little reactions are very natural in English conversations.
Now, let's practice some responses. Repeat after me. That's awesome.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Wow, I can't believe it.
Really? Tell me more.
Fantastic. Finally, a quick tip on tone and speed. Try to speak slowly and clearly, especially when reacting to news. It helps your listener understand your emotions better.
Also, smiles and friendly gestures, even if you're just speaking, help your words sound warm and natural.
Before we close, here's a question for our listeners. Which type of news do you find hardest to respond to? Good, bad, or surprising?
Remember, the best way to get better is by practicing with friends or family. Use the phrases we've shared today to feel more comfortable.
To wrap up, today you learned how to start a news conversation, explain stories clearly, give your opinions and feelings, ask and answer questions, and respond naturally to different kinds of news.
Keep practicing these steps little by little every day, and soon you'll speak about the news confidently and naturally.
If you enjoyed this episode and learned something new, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thanks so much for listening. See you next time, and keep talking English.
Bye for now.
Bye.